Global Eco Rescue is a company that whose objective is to take nature and incorporate that into the capitalist system, and thereby broaden the definition of capital to include nature as a capital asset. And the reason for doing so is because of the current state of evolution on the part of mankind, which is a direct result of the Industrial Revolution. We have basically reached the point where we are using up nature at a historic rate, much to its detriment. And so an example is the fact, as we were told here in the conference, that in the oceans of this world, we have lost 90% of the big fish, all the different species. If you think of it as though you had saved up some money and put it in the bank, and you were living off the interest, might be considered sustainable. If, on the other hand, not only do you spend all the interest, but you start to actually spend the capital in your bank account, then you have a limited amount of time in which you can continue to behave like that before you run out of capital. So this is what's happening to nature. We are losing life as defined by the different numbers of living creatures, the different species on the planet, at a rate which has apparently only been experienced several 100 million years ago, which led to what they call a mass extinction. A mass extinction of life is defined where you lose more than 50% of the known species on the planet. And so that happened a couple of 100 million years ago. The good news is that the planet recovered because it has a self-regulating mechanism. It's one gigantic ecosystem. Mother Earth, Gaia, those are synonyms. And it did recover, and as you know, we have a lot of different species of life today, but the catch is that I think, if I remember correctly, that the recovery period after a mass extinction is something like 100,000 years. So that's not really very good news for us if we have to go through that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what a cap-and-trade system means, but it's a regulated mechanism to create a penalty if you pollute, but equally a reward system if you do not pollute. And I think it's important to use a market-based solution so that every participant in a market, which is fundamentally almost every citizen in a functioning economy, begins to familiarize himself in his everyday decision-making for even small transactions that there is a direct correlation between his decisions and the effect on the environment. We would quite like it if the government felt that that was a reasonable and smart thing to do, and introduce government regulation and policy which recognizes the value proposition of looking after nature responsibly, and therefore actually decreases the risk of private enterprise. And if you do that, you will release all the creativity. If you believe that capitalists and the capital system is a good thing, you will release all the resourcefulness and accountability and efficiency of the capitalist system if you have the public sector and government regulate in an appropriate manner, which so far is seemingly the cap-and-trade system.
And if you were to sum it up in one sentence, what's your point about free market in terms of market?
I think the free market, if put it this way, the free market has to be regulated. If it's regulated so that the rules are set, then, so for example, you don't end up with a monopoly, one company controlling everything. Then you will have collective behavior on the part of the society within the free market, and you will have the resourcefulness and entrepreneurship and risk-taking all working together. We know that the cap-and-trade system stopped acid rain, so we think it's very clear that the same type of system can stop deforestation. There's no doubt. Things stand now. So the obvious conclusion is that you need to get America and China at the same table and start hammering out an agreement. And so as far as we were concerned, that was going to happen. It's inevitable. It's just a question of when was it going to happen. So obviously now, with the benefit of hindsight, we have a change in administration. Barack couldn't have made it more obvious. So he's sitting there at the table, and China already is at the table. I mean, today here, what's nice about today's summit in California, and where I think Arnold's been exceedingly clever, is that he is facilitating the bigger negotiation on the part of the United Nations by welcoming elements of the Chinese government's climate change officials to participate with his equivalents and start to work together to design a system.